on your screen. There we go.
Yep.
And if you can press continue, and that's you giving your consent, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Brilliant. So whilst we're running the session, it would be fab. I think most of you have anyway, but if you can now mute yourself. Sorry, Anila, you've just unmuted yourself. Can you, if you can mute yourself again, and it just really helps with any background noise, just so we can all hear each other and hear me talking as well at the same time. Okay, so what I will say is though, obviously, if you have any questions as we're going along, then please feel free to unmute and just chip in with a question. That's fine, it's no problem. So a very quick introduction. I'm Catherine Overton. I'm one of the community participation workers at Leicestershire County Council in the participation team, which is a very long mouthful, but basically what I do is, and Esther, my colleague, we try to engage people like yourselves in cultural activity, and it basically spans heritage, museums and libraries with this sort of project that we're talking about today. Esther as well, I think a lot of you know her already, but that's, Esther, if you want to introduce yourself very quickly. You're on mute.
I'm a community participation worker like Catherine. I'm working on similar sorts of projects around the county, and I do know quite a few of you, but it's lovely to meet all the other people who've come this afternoon. I'm hoping you're going to really enjoy hearing about our project today.
Brilliant. Thank you, Esther. So also today we've got Helen Foster, who's kindly joined us. She'll be talking to you about the technical side, so giving you some tips about recording apps on your mobile phone, and just some tips generally how to get the best out of your sound recording. And she's from Leicester University's East Midlands Oral History Archive. So welcome to Helen. You want to say hi, Helen? There she is. And we've also got our two external evaluators here, Sarah Mayer and Adam Bilson. They are here. They're going to talk to you at the end, very briefly, just about how you could possibly help with the evaluation process of this project if you would like to. So they'll talk to you about that at the end. So it would be really good if we could just do a really quick icebreaker and just introduce ourselves very quickly. We haven't got much time, so really in a very short nutshell, your name, organisation that you're from, if you are from an organisation, and just really why you've come today, what you want to get out of the Simply Sounds project, whether that's learning more about the recording side of it or learning more about the end result, about the archive and using that at the end, or both. So if you want to, I'll go round, I'll just pick you out one by one as on my screen, and then we'll just do that very, very briefly. So first on my screen, I've got Kusum. If you're able just to unmute yourself, Kusum, that would be brilliant. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Ram Mandir secretary in a Ram Mandir temple, and then I am in many other groups.
Lots of different community groups.
Yeah. All the ladies groups, ladies groups.
Okay. And are you hoping to possibly share the information that you're learning today with the group?
I will, yeah.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, Kusum. Lovely.
Thank you.
So next on my screen, I've got Bhaskar, but is it Catherine?
Yeah. My name is Shobna Khatri.
Hi.
And I'm in Anand Mangal group in Loughborough. And I'm the secretary in the group.
Fab. And again, is it just to learn more about the project and how you can share it? Yeah, wonderful.
That's why we work with Esther and all the people, with the Leicestershire County Council. And,
lovely. Brilliant. Yeah. That's fantastic. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Shirley, you're next on my screen.
Hello, everyone. My name's Shirley Novak, and I'm the newish CEO at Charnwood Arts in Loughborough. And I'm here to say hello anyway, but I'm also here because I'm fascinated with sound. So my background is in music and sound and making music out of sound. So when I saw this project pop up, I thought I need to be part of this. So that's why I'm here.
Oh, fab. That's brilliant. Thank you, Shirley. Chris, you're no longer in the middle. You've shot to the end now on my screen. It's you next.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm Chris Hill. I'm from Loughborough Male Voice Choir.
where I'm the musical director. And why am I here? Well, I'm here because there's a couple of people in the choir who said, yeah, we'll do this. Can you find some stuff out? Can you find some music? And I said, well, what's it for? Well, and then I had all sorts of kind of vague ideas. So I thought it was just safest to come along and actually see it firsthand, what it's about and what's needed and how we can get involved.
That's great. Thank you for coming, Chris. That's lovely. Jenny, you're next on my screen.
Hello. Yeah, I work for Leicestershire County Council as an adult tutor for the learning service. I teach groups of adults with learning difficulties, and we've joined in some of the participation team things before, which have been really good for the group. So yeah, I'm hoping that, yeah, when it's a while before we can meet back face to face, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to do this not face to face. We'll see. So yeah, I need to know how to.
Yes, yeah, thank you. That's great, Jenny. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Esme, we'll come to you next.
Yeah, I'm Esme. I have done a similar project to this while in lockdown, doing the it started off as the Do You See What I See project, then it went on to doing the inheritance and passing on from generation to generation. And I was asked if I'd like to do part of this, because I find music calming due to my Asperger's, and I find different sounds fascinating to how I feel and how they make other people feel. And I was hoping I'll be able to put my personal unique view on out into the world, as it were, and help broaden understanding.
That's just what we want. I've already spoken to you, haven't I, Esme? You've got some great ideas already, so that's fab. Brilliant. Right, thank you, Esme. So next we've got Manish.
Hi, I'm Manish. I'm a composer, producer at HQ Recording. I'm also a music teacher assistant at Millgate School for obviously special educational needs. So today I'm trying to see what we can take out from this session, or what can I apply as a facilitator back at HQ Recording and also at Millgate School.
That's brilliant. Thanks ever so much for coming. Brilliant, thank you. Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm from Leicester Musical Memory Box, and I'd like to make a connection with Shirley. So I'm interested in hearing more about what you do. So we, Leicester Musical Memory Box, we run sessions using music, singing, gentle seated exercise to help people with dementia and other conditions as well, just sort of stimulating memory, creating sort of feelings of well-being, etc. And we've just done a fabulous Sounds Familiar project with Esther and Sarah and Adam, and yeah, everybody really enjoyed it. I'm just really keen to see sort of how we can sort of get involved with this and promote this amongst our group.
Brilliant, thank you. That's great, Christina. Thank you. Anila. Hello.
Hi. My name is Anila and I'm from Loughborough. I run a group called Anand Mangal Group, and I'm sure all the ladies are very much interested in music. So I thought, let me go in the meeting and see what I can do for my group, right from the beginning till the end.
Lovely. That's brilliant. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And we've got Barty next.
Right. My life is a bit different. I have been very fortunate enough to have been able to work with Catherine and Esther, but my role has changed. I still work alongside a lot of other community groups, and I think sound is so universal. You don't need any language or understanding, because music is something everybody understands and enjoys. So I'm just trying to sort of give a different angle to it, and also Catherine also learned how to sort of, you know, probably record properly and how to use the archive. So all of those things, yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Barty. I've got Sacha. I think you just joined us. So welcome to you. If you want to just tell us very briefly why you're here today, that'd be great.
Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry I'm late. I volunteer with Leicester Musical Memory Box with Christina. I also attended the Sounds Familiar sessions with Leicester and the whole team. I'm here to learn also how to make these sounds and how to add on to the project as much as I can, hopefully. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks very much. I think I've covered everybody. Is anybody that I've missed?
We've not spoken to Colin, but I'm not sure whether he's there. He is.
Hi, I am here. I've just been in Zoom meetings all day, and I'm going to get up and walk around and stretch my back. So I thought I'd take the camera off. But hi everyone, my name's Colin Hyde, and I'm manager of the Unlocking Our Sound Heritage Project, which is based at the University of Leicester. And I'm working with Esther on Sounds Familiar and Simply Sounds as well, and thoroughly enjoying it up to now. And I'm looking forward to this afternoon too.
Thank you, Colin. Right, I think that's everybody.
No,
oh, sorry.
No, that's okay because
hello.
We're sharing a laptop. I'm Hema, and I come from a storytelling background, and I would love to incorporate sound in my stories.
Oh, brilliant. That's fab.
I'm very excited.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you for coming. Wonderful.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me in.
That's okay. Right then. So now we've done the introductions. I'm going to pass you over to Esther, and she's going to give you just a overview of the Unlocking Our Sound Heritage Project, which is the overarching project that Simply Sound sits underneath, basically. So over to Esther for now.
Thank you. So yes, the Unlocking Our Sound Heritage Project is a partnership with the British Library and the University of Leicester, and it's funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. And overall, the project's trying to preserve over 500,000 rare and at-risk sound recordings and make a national network of preservation centres, of which Leicester University is one of them. And most importantly, engage more people with the value of sound recordings. So that's why you're all here today. So I just want to share my screen with you, if I can. So if you can see what's on the screen now, there may be some things that are recognizable to you. Anybody want to call out what those things are?
A cassette.
A cassette, yeah. One of those.
Floppy disk.
Yeah, a floppy disk.
And the old type of the recording audio spool.
That's it. That's it, Shobna. It's an old spool of tape from an old reel-to-reel.
Yeah, I got that.
So all of these things are reliant on a sort of magnetic tape that's degrading over time. And often the means of playing these things are not being made anymore either. So all the sound that's contained on this kind of material is going to be unplayable in what's estimated to be about 15 years time, that the sound collections in this way will be lost forever. So the British Library are running a 5-year project to try and digitise sound so that we can have those to listen to. And it's Unlocking Our Sound Heritage is the overarching project. But as I said, the engaging people with the value of sound is an important part of this project. And so I've been working with several groups and the university to come up with some ideas for engaging people living with dementia with sound. So I've been working on a project which we've called Sounds Familiar. We'd run a successful project for people living with dementia using museum objects and pictures and smells and things for reminiscence. But this part of the project was using digitised sound. And we've been trialling sessions with support groups for people living with dementia. And we've made activities using the archives to trigger memories and conversations and pleasure. And it seems to be working. So feedback from the group leaders so far and the guests show the sessions have really stimulated memories. And people have continued to talk about things that they've heard even after the session. They've enjoyed learning new things, whether it was about what people had done in the past or the way people used to live. And they've had a feeling of calm when they've listened to some of the sounds as well. And all the resources you see on this page here are on our website. So you're very welcome to call in and have a look at cultureleicestershire.co.uk, looking for Sounds Familiar. So that's the project we've been working on, and the Simply Sounds is feeding into that, but I'll pass you back to Catherine. She'll tell you more.
Very much. Lovely. So a bit of background about Simply Sounds then. So as you've heard, it fits into the Unlocking Our Sound Heritage project, and its aim is to create a wide variety of sound recordings which will be freely available on our website, with the hope of inspiring reminiscence and improving well-being. So sounds can make us feel a vast range of emotions, and there is evidence to suggest that they also help in triggering memories. They create a greater sense of well-being through reminiscence, and may be particularly of use to people who are living well with dementia. So this is just one of the ways that the resource could be used, but it will be freely available on our website for anybody to use for their own well-being. Using sound is a powerful way to connect to memories, and purposeful listening can be a very positive activity. Reminiscing can help develop conversations, maintain someone's identity, highlight a person's talents and achievements, and help people process past events. We have the next slide, thanks Esther. So obviously we are in lockdown, as we all know, but the end is in sight, we hope. During lockdown, we thought this could be the perfect opportunity for you to take part in this project, whether that's as an individual or a group leader. We just need your help to create these varying sounds for our archive. So we want to design a resource which is not language specific and which doesn't exclude any individual or community because of its content. So we'd like the sounds to reflect the diverse communities that are living in Leicestershire, and to be accessible and relatable to as many people as possible. That's including you and the people closest to you. Now, we obviously understand that groups aren't meeting physically at the moment, but if you are still meeting with your groups remotely, either via Zoom or some other means, or even if you can just share the details of the project via email, then we could really go some way in reaching a great number of people and capturing this diverse range of sound. In terms of how the sounds could possibly be used, one example that we've thought of could be in a care home setting for residents with English as an additional language. If this was the case, then to have sounds in the archive that people from such communities can identify with would obviously be ideal. Now, we already have an example in the archive, Sounds of Barty's Kitchen, which is up on the screen at the moment. And this is Barty, who's with us today. I don't know if all of you have checked out our web page, actually, the Simply Sounds website. You might have already seen this on there. But this is Barty making chapatis. And in this instance, this particular sound, along with the supporting photographs, could potentially really help as a memory trigger for listeners from Asian communities in particular. So we thought we'd have a little listen now to this example. And this was just recorded using a standard mobile phone. So if we get that up, and it does take a little while for the lead in you'll hear a bit of silence first. You might need to turn your computer volume up, but it should start in a moment.
Just take some nice breaths while you're waiting.
Brilliant. That was the sound. I don't know if anyone wants to say how that made you feel, or if it reminded you of anything, or just what you could hear in general. Any comments?
Reminds me of food. My mum in the kitchen, to be honest. I come from an Indian background, so it makes me actually quite hungry, to be honest.
Yeah, it makes me hungry as well. I was going to say that. That's what I said. Sorry, Christina, were you going to say?
I was going to say it's making me feel hungry.
Anything else? Any other comments?
I feel a bit hungry as well, actually. But it reminded me of being in my nana's house, listening to her making her famous nana stew.
Oh, right. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, great. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, Sarah's saying, I found it comforting, like being at home. I think it is, isn't it? It's like a really comforting, just a comforting sound, really. And we're all going to have an Indian takeaway tonight. I know that's what I'm having. Right. So, Esther, do we have time for another sound, do you think, or do we need to go on to the next? Sorry, Esther, you're on mute.
I don't think Esther, you were on mute, so we couldn't hear what you were saying.
Can you hear us, Esther? Can you hear us? Can you not hear us, Esther? Have you lost your sound? Are you there?
Wait, could you hear anything then?
No.
No. Okay, let me just try again.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. So I'm totally chilled out, and I don't know about anyone else. Any comments on that one? Sounds of a muddy walk.
I felt like as if I was canoeing down the river, because there were certain water sounds that were repeated. So it's like the oars going in.
Yeah.
And that sort of made me feel I want to go back to canoeing.
It was lovely, wasn't it? It's a lovely sound. I think that's a really good example of one that could be used for anyone's well-being, to be honest, that one. It's lovely. Any other comments on that sound? No? Okay.
It made me feel like I was taking a walk down the river shore. It's actually both those sounds, both the walking in the muddy field and the sound of the water going.
Yeah.
All the sounds that I hear when I walk down that little side path.
Yeah, we can all relate to them, can't we?
Yeah, right down.
Very relatable.
Maybe do a bit tearful with it. I can't remember the last.
Oh, really?
One, isn't there?
Oh.
It was damn lockdown.
Oh.
So, Anila, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say it's the early morning scene where the birds are singing and the stream of water is passing by, and it makes me so happy. I think I thought about my country.
Oh, right.
It's really, really a happy sound.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? What it can do just from a sound. We're all getting these different emotions.
And just 2 minutes, transports you to another place. Yeah.
And one other thing that was really, really in common in both of them, you hear water, right? And the water is just so therapeutic. It's really, really, it's just like so calming. And as you said, so wonderful for the health and well-being. It just makes you feel, you don't realize that sound is there until you've recorded it, and then you hear back and think, wow.
That's it. I mean, it's an everyday sound that we take for granted, isn't it? But when you listen to it in this sort of scenario, you hear it in a different way. Right, so that's 2 examples of the sounds. So you've had a flavour of what sort of thing that we're interested in. We're going to show you now a very short animation. I don't know if anyone's seen this already, if you've been onto our webpage. It's a very short animation that basically explains the project in a nutshell and what you need to do with your sounds and where you need to send them. So we'll attempt to hopefully get that up and running now for you to see. It worked, yes. Okay, so is there any comments about the animation at all before we go on to the next bit? No. Okay, so that is on our webpage. You can obviously keep going back and referring to that if you needed to. But obviously, as you can see from that, the possibilities really are endless in terms of what you could record for us for the sound. As long as it's something that is something the person recording it is going to be connected to in some way, and it means something to them. And also importantly that it's 2 minutes in length. So we've had a submission today, 30 seconds. I don't know if we're going to be able to use it or not. It's quite a nice sound, but we do need it to be 2 minutes in length. It could be sounds of a hobby. It could be handicrafts, a musical instrument. It could be games or sports. Sounds that are just in the home. So baking or cooking, or it could be children at play. Children homeschooling, probably more likely that they're playing, to be honest, at this point, but who knows. A sound from nature, as we've just heard. So a walk in the countryside. I had put here a walk at the beach, but it's not likely for any of us in landlocked Leicestershire to be going to the beach during lockdown at the moment. Sounds from a place of worship. Obviously, that's also quite tricky at the moment, but it could be that you do worship at home, and it could be a sound within that context. So it could also be pets and the myriad of sounds that they make, or sounds from your work, if you're working from home or in your outside of that in a working environment somewhere else. It's entirely up to you, as long as you think it's a sound that is going to work well in our archive and that you're interested in yourself.
So we've got a question from Chris.
Okay.
Just to check, 30 seconds is too short. 2 minutes is ideal. Is anything too long?
I think we're saying maximum 2 minutes. Oh yes.
Maximum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's.
I mean, if you send us something a little bit over, then we can edit it to the correct length. But if it's about 2 minutes, that's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions about in terms of the sounds at this stage?
I sent you a recording of I sent you a recording yesterday, Catherine, and I'm not sure. And you said you were going to find out about it.
Yeah, and I've not got back to you yet. Yes. So Esme, do you want to say what you'd sent in? What you were questioning whether we could use?
When I sent in yesterday to Catherine a sound that reminded me of my childhood. Growing up in the 90s, I grew up with the Disney princesses like Cinderella and Snow White, Dalmatians, Winnie the Pooh, sounds like that. And on the VHS tapes, and beginning of every video, there was always the same sound coming from Sorcerer Mickey's hand, and it spells out Walt Disney, and who was the creator and designer of all the Disney films that we have today. Well, he inspired ones, more modern ones, but even now to this day, every time I hear this sound that goes with it, it reminds me of going back to when I was 10 years old listening to it.
Yeah, and in terms of, it would be ideal in terms of it's connected to your childhood, but the problem we've got, it's an introduction to obviously Disney, so we wouldn't be able to use that just simply because of the copyright infringement. Right. So really, it's about you creating your own sound, your own original sound. Anything like that, whilst I think it would be a trigger for a lot of people like yourself, we're not going to be able to use it in this context, unfortunately. But you did come up with another fantastic idea, which was, you say, sitting in the window if there's a downpour of rain on the windowsill.
Yeah, the sound of rain hitting my windowsill.
Which is great, because everyone likes that sound. When you're inside and warm and dry and you hear that outside, I think that's a great sound. So yeah, you need a downpour for you to record it.
Yeah, I did have the window cleaner in today who when he does my upstairs windows, the rain hits my downstairs windowsill. It made a similar sound, but it wasn't quite the same thing.
Not quite right. We'll have to wait for that rain, won't we? Yeah. But yeah, so that's a possibility of doing that instead. Okay.
And a question from Christina.
Oh, sorry,
Christina.
It was just the rain, the sound of the rain. The Zoom that I was on just now, someone was presenting, and suddenly wherever she was in the country, there was like this huge downpour of rain. Then there was like thunder and lightning.
Oh, wow.
And everything. She carried on presenting. But it was just like, so that sound, you know, yeah, it does transport you back to places. I know we talked about that in the Sounds Familiar project, didn't we? It's for a lot of people, it's quite a comforting sound.
So weather as well. Weather is another definite one, definitely. Okay, so
could I just ask something? Sorry. I was just wondering, are you saying on the whole you don't particularly want voices like conversations? It's more other sounds apart from voices and conversations?
I mean, Esther, I'm thinking it's more it's not really.
It's the everyday sounds that we can do within lockdown, within our own homes and environments. I think the important thing is that Catherine's going to come to this in a bit about things not being identifiable. So if we were to use interviews or voices, there would be more consent forms we would have to fill in order for that recording to be used and kept as an archive. So we're trying to keep things very generic, very open, so that there's nobody identified as a voice or as a photograph, and that way we can share it widely and we don't have the consent issues for using in the same way. So
yeah, that's helpful, thank you.
However, Chris, I will just say, obviously you're here from the male choir, aren't you? So that's a bit of a different thing in terms of it's a group of voices singing. It's, you know, it's singing, it's not talking. So that would be okay if we had a 2-minute clip of singing. That's fine.
Right. Okay. So have them singing, but that you might then want to put a photograph with it.
Yes, and I spoke to to Paul as well from the choir about that. So it would be we need non-identifiable photographs as well. So if it is of a person, this sound that you're, and obviously you've got a group of 50 in the choir, which makes it a bit trickier. Because what I was going to say, it could be if it has to involve the person, it could be a back of head shot rather than the face. If it was something else that someone's doing, making the noise with their hands, it could be a close-up of the hands instead, possibly. In terms of the choir, I was actually wondering if we could just use a stock, the stock photographs, rather than it being your actual choir, because then we'd have to get 50 consent forms filled in from each participant, which could be a bit of a nightmare. So it could be that we use some kind of stock image instead, or if you've got, is there some kind of uniform or outfit that they wear? Yeah. Maybe a close-up of just that somehow, I don't know. If maybe just think outside the box a bit with it, so that we're not getting anyone's faces in. Yeah,
do they wear hats, Chris?
No, but no, there's an idea. We do have a logo or two and one or two bits of uniform that can be elegantly laid around.
There's ways around it.
That sounds perfect. Yes, send us more than 3, and we can choose the best ones.
Right. Yeah, that'd be fab. Brilliant. Right, I'm just mindful of the time. I was going to pass over now, if it's all right with you, Helen, for you to do your little bit. Helen's going to talk to you about sharing her top tips for how to record on a mobile phone. So I'll pass over to Helen now.
Right, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet and really simple. I did have a little slide to share. Oh, it says I can't, but it doesn't matter anyway. I'll just talk. It'll be much easier. So I'm Helen, and I run the East Midlands Oral History Archive at the University of Leicester. So my work with sound is usually with voices, but this project sounds fantastic, and I think that idea of capturing sounds incredibly evocative. I think there's scope to be really, really experimental. Sounds great. So what a lot of us have, not everybody has, but a lot of us have our smartphones. And even if you don't have one yourself, you're quite likely to be able to have access to a smartphone. And these are actually incredibly sophisticated recording devices. When you think back to the technology of cassette tapes, you can actually record very high quality on mobile phones. So it's great to see this project actually tapping into that, because it makes it very, very accessible for a lot of people. Then you haven't got to go and invest in expensive recording equipment and things like that. So some things to think about then. So smartphones are very useful. The technology is always advancing, and they're really great for recording things informally as well. So you can literally, it's something you carry around in your pocket. So I know we're all stuck at home at the moment, but if you have that mobile phone with you when you're maybe on your daily exercise, you might capture a sound while you're out and about. So it gives you that opportunity. You don't have to plan for it. It's there. The equipment is with you to capture the sounds that as you encounter them through your day. The other good thing about using mobile phones is it's potentially something that people of all ages might be able to use as well, particularly children. If you've children, I'm not sure if you're involving them in the project, but certainly within families, it could be a great reason for getting families together to do recording as well. So there are pros and still very sophisticated. There may be sorry, my phone just went off then. That's completely distracting me having said all that. There may be things like the type of file formats and things that you're using. But with this project, it's very straightforward. The file formats that are being taken in, I appreciate, are the ones that you're going to be recording on your phone, so that should be fine. So one thing to do then, or several things to do to make sure that you're always good to go with your mobile phone when you're out and about going to capture sounds is make sure that your battery life's good. Although you're only capturing 2 minutes of sound at the most, it's still good to make sure your battery is not on its last legs. There's nothing worse. Imagine you've got yourself out somewhere and there's maybe wonderful bird calls or something happening, or a vehicle going by or something that you really want to capture, and then your battery goes. So make sure that you've got a good battery life on there when you're out and about doing that. The other thing to do, and as I've just demonstrated well, is to make sure that your recording isn't interrupted by phone calls, other notifications and messages coming through. So pop it onto airplane mode. It's probably the easiest way to deal with that. So make sure you don't get any interruptions while you're doing your recording as well. So the actual apps that you might want to use, you may just want to use the one that's native to your phone. A very simple, straightforward one that you may already be familiar with. Or there are 2 apps that I'm going to just mention today that I've had a look at, which look fairly straightforward and simple to use. The first one is called Rev, R-E-V, and you can get free downloadable apps for this for Apple and Android as well. And it's a really straightforward interface when you look at it. It literally has 3 buttons, record, play and stop, or something like that. It's a really, really simple, straightforward app to use. The other one that I'll mention is called Skyro, which is S-K-Y-R-O. And that's an Android app, an app for Android. There are paid versions, but there is a free version. So obviously you'd be wanting to use the free version for this. And looking at some of the reviews for this, you can record clear audio in MP3 on this. And there are various built-in features to this app. If you are a little bit more sophisticated in using this kind of stuff, you can actually Dropbox your finished file when it's completed. Although I would imagine that you wouldn't have any difficulty in emailing as the instructions are coming from the project. So those are the 2 ones that I'm going to name. And what I'll offer to do, if it's helpful, is just to maybe post those details to you so you can all get access to them and have a look at those 2 particular apps to see if they're any use for you. Okay. So just a few more tips about recording them. Now, obviously my background is very much recording in an interview situation. So that there will be a lot of things to consider with that. But if you're just recording sounds, there's still a lot to think about. One of the most distracting things, I think, when you're recording on mobile phones and listening back to it is if the phone moves around a lot. So for example, if it rubs against your clothes, or if it's a windy day and you've got the wind kind of cutting across it, although that actually might be one of the sounds you're wanting to collect. So there are pros and cons to that as well. One thing you can do, and this is again to think about, what type of sound are you wanting to pick up? Is it going to be something static, or is it going to be a sort of moving sound? Are you going to be making a journey somewhere and recording something? So it struck me that with the muddy walk, you were going on a journey there, so you were moving through the soundscape. Whereas with the cookery one, that was quite a static recording. So if you're static when you're recording, if you're going to be in one place, you may want to put your phone down. So don't handle your phone, because that's just going to add more noise to it. But sit it down and on something like a cushion, so it's got a kind of soft background to it. So it's not kind of going to pick up any vibrations off a table or any hard surfaces that it may be in contact with as well. If you're taking a journey, if you're moving with your phone, then obviously that you're going to pick up more noises because of the movement that you're making in as you move along, but that you might actually incorporate that, as I say, as part of the soundscape that you're recording. Or you may perhaps take a journey where you make several stops along the way and stand still and record, and then start again and stop and record. It depends how you do that. Another thing to think about is where you are in relation to the sound that you're recording as well. So is it something that's happening right next to you? Is it something that's happening in the distance? You know, are you actually wanting to capture a sound of the barn owl that you hear right across the field? So it's going to be quite a distant sound. One thing that made me think about this was listening to the clip of, whose kitchen were we in that first clip? Was it Barty's kitchen? Yes. And what I picked up on in that, which I thought was lovely, was I could actually hear very slight sounds of the cook breathing. Just very, very slightly. Their breathing changed as they were kind of obviously rolling. And I thought that was lovely because it gave me a sense that they were there. There was somebody in that soundscape. So think about that. What are you know, do you want your sounds to be picked up when you're actually recording? Or do you want it to be something that's at a distance as well? So there are a few other things to think about. So along with that as well, picking up other background noises. So, you know, trying to focus in on the particular sound that you're wanting to capture. Avoid things like, you know, if you were recording something and you were sitting at a table while you were recording it, try and avoid maybe having a cup of tea and banging that up and down on the table while you're recording, or sitting there as clicking your pen and bringing in other noises, unless you want them in it, of course. And that's one of the wonderful things about this project, is you're wanting to capture the everyday. So maybe you want those natural sounds of everything that's going on in that space. So I think that's a really, really exciting aspect of the project, what you're actually going to pick up in your 2 minutes of recording. So I think that's about me. As I say, I've pared that back to keep it really, really simple. Because I think that's the way to go, to keep it accessible, and also, you know, particularly during COVID, to make sure that you know, you haven't got to get hugely expensive equipment or learn anything, you know, learn anything with real technical detail. Okay, so I'm going to kind of draw it to a close there, but I'm happy to take any questions maybe at the end or whenever. I'm not sure how you're planning to do it.
If anyone's got any questions, thank you, Helen. That's great. Has anyone got any questions now for Helen? I think we are going to overrun. If anyone's got to get off desperately at 3:30, you may have to leave us. I think we are going to overrun by a bit.
Helen, you said that you did oral history. What does that mean exactly?
So what oral history is, the definition of it is basically when you have somebody who has got a story to tell. So it might be their life, something about their story. And so you arrange an interview and you interview that person. And you basically set up a situation where you have the recorder, you have the interviewer and the interviewee, and you ask questions to prompt responses from the interviewer, and you record them. And it might be about their whole life story, or it might just be about an aspect of their life. And it's a very, very fascinating way of learning about people and about history as well.
Sounds it. When I first told my mum about this project, she says to me, maybe you can mention that video I sent you. And I said, well, and she reminded me about this video that she sent me. Go back to what we said about the Alzheimer's thing. And it might be something that you might have perhaps done, Helen. It was of this interview that this lady had, this old lady. She was into her 80s, easily 90s, and she was gone in a race of dementia. And the only thing that ever got her moving and back more with us was the sound of her doing her ballet, because she was a world famous ballet dancer in her youth, and she actually still did all the moves, even though she's in a wheelchair. And it was like, and I think it was actually something similar to what oral history was. It was going back to what she did in her younger days, and she was completely, I don't want to say vacant, because but that's the easiest way I can describe. You can describe this lady, because she was so lost in her mind that she was almost, it's like really quite dormant until she heard this music.
Yeah, I mean, sounds, voices can be real triggers for people maybe with dementia, or older people, you know, even not so old people. Those sorts of memory triggers can really bring you back to life sometimes.
And that's what we're really finding with using the sounds that are being generated with Simply Sounds, but also we're using the oral history archive to trigger memories for people with dementia and their carers, Esme. So yeah, you're right. It really does. It really does work to bring back memories.
And people really respond to accents as well, don't they? That sort of triggers a connection to other people, which has been really interesting to see. Yeah. I was going to ask a question, Helen. If you've finished, Esme, is it all right for me? Yeah, thank you. Just going to ask Helen, is oral history taking place at the moment in the current environment?
Yes, in different ways and forms. I've been continuing to do some oral history for a project on menopause that I've been working on. And a lot of what's been happening hasn't been ideal. The Oral History Society would prefer people not to record remotely for many of the same reasons as you know, quality and archival standards. But I think work has been continuing as a way to keep momentum up, as a way to keep people engaged during this strange time. So we've been doing interviews on Zoom, and yes, we get crackles, we get all sorts going on, we get lots of connectivity, but we're still managing to capture interviews and developing other ways of recording oral testimony as well, which aren't strictly oral history interviews, but getting people to record audio diaries has been a nice one, and getting people in groups to have recorded conversations and facilitated conversations as well. And there is another one, sorry, just to add, the NHS at 70 project, they continued recording interviews all last summer by telephone, doing telephone interviewing as well, which was quite something, I think.
Yes. Right, I'm sorry. Sorry, Sarah.
I was just going to say, Catherine, those crackles from the Zoom conversations, it's of the time, it's of the moment, isn't it? Just like the very early recordings you might listen back to. With the captures a moment.
It does. Right, I'm sorry, we are on at half past 3, which is when we said we were going to finish, so we're not doing very well at the moment, but we're getting there. So if you just go back to the submissions, I know that we've mentioned it not being non-identifiable, but also to say in the actual recording itself, just we obviously can't have any names being mentioned. So it was just to make you aware of that. So it's names and faces. In terms of the submission date, the cutoff point, we've said the 14th of March. So you have still got quite a few, well, what's that, about 3 weeks, I think? 3 weeks to get them into us. And you have got the choice of either emailing the Simply Sounds inbox, or you can WhatsApp to that number. That information is available on our webpage. And it's on any flyers that if I did contact you by email and I sent you a flyer, it's on there as well, I believe. And also just to flag up, if you were wanting the flyer that we'd originally put together, if you're wanting it in a different language, we've got some other languages available, and they're all available for download off of our webpage. So we have Gujarati, Hindi, Urdu, Bengali, and Polish. So if you're wanting to promote this in your community and you would think that would be useful to have one of those flyers, you can either contact me and I can send you it by email, or you can just download it, as I say, from our webpage. Okay. Right.
Whose number is that the WhatsApp? I mean, is that yours, or is that the Simply Sounds website?
That WhatsApp number, yeah, that comes to me. So that's the basically my work mobile number. Yeah. So
right. Okay. So if I was doing to my WhatsApp, I'll be able to find you on there. Would I be able to find you on the WhatsApp then?
Yeah, it simply sounds that that comes up, I believe. I can't remember what I put it down as, but yeah, if you WhatsApp that number, that's that will take you. It will basically come to me for the Simply Sounds, and then I can forward them on to the Leicester University.
Okay, I'll get that number down, and I'll now see what I can now send my pictures and videos and what have you.
Yeah, lovely.
If I can't do it, I can do it to you directly.
Yeah, that's fine. Or just email it to the Simply Sounds inbox, whichever's easier. Yeah. Just to say as well, if we have the next slide, Esther, thank you. Just in terms of what we're going to do with your sounds, when you send a sound in, you will get this little bit of blurb coming directly back at you, either on email or on WhatsApp. And it's basically the information that's to let you know what we're going to do with it. And as it says there, the sound recordings and the photographs that you send in to us, the County Council will retain all rights to that work, and we will be using it in the County Council, but also with our partners for the Simply Sounds project and for possible future reminiscence projects. So it's just to make you aware of that. And obviously, if you're promoting that with this project with people in your community, if you can just make them aware of that and have a little read of it, basically, when they receive it, just so they know what's happening with what they're sending in. Right, I'm going to pass over now to Adam and Sarah. So as we've said, they're the external evaluators for this project. They're going to speak to you very quickly just about how you could possibly help with the evaluation process. So over to them.
Thanks, Catherine. Shall I go first, Adam? Is that all right? Yeah, well, thank you, Catherine. Just to say, we're the external evaluators who are gathering feedback on the Sounds Familiar and the Simply Sounds projects. It's nice to see some familiar faces here today, Christina and Sasha, and nice to see new faces. And I've really enjoyed this evaluation. It's been so interesting to kind of reconnect to sound. I think it's made me realise that I took sounds for granted. You hear so many sounds, so to stop and think about what you're hearing has been really refreshing and really interesting. So the way that we're looking to do the evaluation is we're basically looking for evidence of ways in which the project has achieved a number of things, involved more people from different communities in the creation of new sound resources. We're looking for ways that it has made sound more accessible to communities and maybe help them increase digital skills. We're looking for ways that it has increased an interest in and connection to heritage, and very importantly, if it's increased well-being at all, if people who have participated have enjoyed the experience, if they've got something from it that has made them feel better, if it's increased their confidence. So a number of things that we're looking to gather evidence on. And the ways that we're doing this predominantly is through an online feedback form that will be sent to all participants, and it's a really simple and quick online survey. You'll be sent a link to it or a link to it through a QR code. It probably will take under 5 minutes to complete, and we would really appreciate people's time in completing this, just to give us a little bit of insight into how they found the experience. We're also hoping that we might be able to do some semi-structured interviews with community group leaders. Now, we're really conscious of how busy people are, so we wouldn't want to take up too much of your time. And if you don't want to do this, that's absolutely fine. But if anybody would like to talk to us about their experience, how their participants found it, then we will be in touch and see if we can arrange a brief conversation with you, either on the telephone or Zoom or Teams, whatever your preference is. And it would just be really nice to have a chat and get a little bit more detail on the experience. Similarly, if you think it's something that your group members might want to participate in, then we could organise a little group chat. Might be nice for people to come together and share their experience and talk about what they recorded. So again, we'll be in touch to see if that's a possibility. Then what will we do with all of this evidence that we've collected? Well, the results will be analysed for a report which will be used by the participation team to inform their future plans. And also it'll inform potentially the plans and work that can be carried out with other community groups. We're hoping it'll also be used by the University of Leicester, and that could inform the future use of these sound resources with different communities. So yeah, we really would appreciate any time you could give us just to share your feedback. And yeah, just to Adam, have you got anything to add to that?
No, I think you've summed it up really nicely, Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks. So yeah, thanks, Catherine and Esther. Back over to you. If anybody's got any questions though about the evaluation or providing feedback, then please just give us a shout.
Thanks for that, Sarah. And just to say, the little quote that I showed you, when you submit your sound, you get that bit back saying about what we're going to do with your sound and your images. At the very end of that, there is actually the link to the survey, the short survey. So you can do it direct from there at the end of that message. If you just scroll down to it, that will take you there. Okay, right. So now, Esther, I believe you're going to do a little bit about volunteering.
So yes, just a very quick plug really, to say that our team welcomes volunteers to join all of our projects. And for this project, we're offering some online training with our partner, Colin, at Leicester University, to help with the editing and compiling of the 2 minutes of sounds. And if you want to have a go, or somebody in your community would like to become a volunteer to help put all these sounds together, it's a chance to learn a new skill and maybe meet some new people virtually in a virtual setting, make a positive difference to people living with dementia, and be part of a team and create this accessible cultural resource. So if you're interested, or you know somebody who would be, do get in touch with me or Catherine. We've really got an excellent volunteer recruitment service, and you'd be joining over 500 volunteers who support our heritage team, the record office, the libraries and the collections. So don't hold back. If you'd like to help us put these clips together, you'll get some training from Colin and be a very valuable part of our team. So I'll just share some of the other projects that we're also working on. So our participation team, they're kind of, our overarching aims are connecting, creating and sharing through culture. So I thought I would just very, very quickly just tell you a few of the things that we're working on as well, in case there are things that you might be interested in. So we're working with communities in lots of different ways. Obviously our Sounds Familiar project, which we've been piloting the archive sound for reminiscence, and our resources are available on the website, cultureleicestershire.co.uk. We've got a project since June 2020. We've been working on a Black Lives Matter 2 project, which has been capturing the responses of local people to the challenges raised by Black Lives Matter, with the aim of making positive changes. And there are pledges online and an exhibition at Charnwood Museum, and we're still welcoming contributions towards that. So again, if you look up on cultureleicestershire.co.uk, I'll say it lots of times and then hopefully you'll remember to go and have a look at it. We're running a Market 800 celebration of Loughborough's markets, fairs and charter. And we're looking for volunteers, Esme, I'm thinking of you here, to collect memories from members of the public and co-curate an exhibition which will be featured in Charnwood Museum. So again, anybody who'd like to be involved with that, get in touch.
I think I'm doing that with Sally.
Oh, yes, you are. There you go.
Yeah. And my nana said that she'd be happy to put forward her memories, and my mum has as well. My mum's side of the family is all from Loughborough.
Fantastic. Very good. We're also, we have some films about Blooming Books, it's called, which is about the importance of reading for pleasure and sharing stories about children learning to read. So that's all the details are on the website for that. We're looking for shared reading volunteers, so working with mainly older people in their own homes at the moment, and every week they meet to do shared reading, and we're looking for volunteers to lead their groups. we've also got signposts to cultural grants for community managed libraries, volunteers in those areas of up to £5,000 to support the reduction of social isolation. So please speak to us about that if you're in a community managed library or you know somebody who is. And the other one is that Northwest Leicestershire have a Voices project, which again is oral history based, with Mantle Arts, who are building a new collection of oral histories about life in Northwest Leicestershire. So there's lots of cultural activities going on. If any of those take your interest or anything else, just keep looking on our website. We have a very wide variety of projects that we would welcome your inclusion in.
Thank you, Esther. And I think that is the end of our session. I think we've covered everything. I know that we have overrun, but if anyone has got any more questions at the moment, if you want to raise them now before we go, please do. Either for myself and Esther or Sarah, Adam or Helen. Anything else? Or have we covered it all? Hopefully. So tomorrow, it'll probably be tomorrow now, I'm going to email out to you a participation form. If you wouldn't mind filling it in, it would really help with our projects and evaluation and all the rest of it. If you've got time just to fill it in for us, that'd be wonderful if you can email it back to me. So I'll do that tomorrow. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I hope you found it useful. I hope you feel like you can take part and you're going to send us lots of submissions, because you can send more than one. Feel free to send, 10, 20, 30, however many you want. And spread the word for us in your communities, and hopefully we'll be able to build up this fantastic archive. So thank you all for coming.
And if you think of anything later that you want to, that you didn't have chance to say today, then just email us and we'll reply. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
That was excellent, ladies.
Oh, thank you.